Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Karen Marsdale. I'm interim president at the Greater Reading Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And today on our member spotlight, I am thrilled and honored to have John Weidenhammer with me today. John, welcome.
Hi Karen, it's so great to be here with you. I'm thrilled as well.
It's good to be able to sit down. I see you in so many places, and
just so it's not in the post office,
yes,
right? With one like this and one like that.
But so our paths cross, and it's fun to sit down and talk to somebody really just about their business. And I think this is what makes these member spotlights fascinating, because as I've always said in the 20 years of my work at the chamber, I find the most fascinating, interesting people doing businesses and creating businesses that are just amazing, and they go out every day and do that work because of the love of the work, and that's what really makes our economy go around. So thank you for being one of those inspirations in our community.
Well, I hope I'm an inspiration, but
well,
thank you for that. Thank you for that
You
compliment.
certainly are. I think of you as an entrepreneur, and so talk to us a little bit, for those who may not know, Weidenhammer, and what do you do?
Okay, well, the interesting thing about our company is, like myself, born and bred here in Reading. I grew up in the city of Reading and went all through the Reading schools. I went to college at Lehigh University, and I always say that I learned two things when I was in college. One, I studied engineering. I learned that I didn't want to be an engineer, and I learned that I did want to work with computers. So
interesting.
When I graduated from school, I worked for Carpenter Technology as an on-the-bench developer, and kind of worked up into a supervisor position. And then one of my project team members, a guy that I had gone to graduate school with, had left to go to work for a company called Ernst & Ernst at the time, now Ernst & Young. Mm-hmm. And our office was right down here at 5th and Washington Street. So I worked as a road squad IT consultant for about 4 years for Ernst & Ernst. And then I spotted a trend that there was a growing void between the developers of computer equipment and the ultimate consumer, and there was often a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth associated with the deployment of information systems. So I saw that as an opportunity, not knowing really how big of an opportunity it was. So I left Ernst & Ernst, and Weidenhammer got started in 1978, which was essentially 38 years ago.
Wow.
And in the beginning, we were consultants. We did what I had done as a consultant for Ernst & Young, helping our clients solve technology-related problems. As time went by and as our market expanded, we became a more diversified company. In fact, we're strategically diversified. It's not that we or I can't pay attention to one thing. We decided to be in multiple lines of business. So, and I'll tell you what we do, but today Weidenhammer has about 200 professionals. They're spread out across 4 locations in Pennsylvania, a location in Michigan, one in Colorado, and another one in Arizona. And we have basically 5 components to our business. We are providers of administrative application software into the K-12 market, and that's a national, even an international business for us. So all the things that relate to managing a school, sort of the back office operations, is what we do. So accounting, payroll, student record scheduling, that kind of thing is part of the software that we provide.
Now I'm going to stop right there for just a quick minute, because that's interesting. Now, how did that niche become something that you became a provider of?
Well, it's interesting, and it's kind of crazy how things happen. But I said I worked for Ernst & Ernst, and that's basically a CPA firm.
Sure.
It was the time when the so-called Big Eight.
Yeah.
And one of the professionals that I had worked with left Ernst & Ernst and went to work for the Conrad Weiser School District. And he called me up one day and he said, John, he said, we have a service provider doing our accounting work. And he said, I typically get my reports from them about 4 months after the end of the month. He said, do you think there's a problem with that?
A little bit of a lag time there.
I said, I sure do. I said, how do you manage your business with 4-month-old operation? He said, exactly. He said, you need to help me get a computer for our business. So in short order, I went out to see him, and what would sound crazy today, but was the norm back then, is that if you were going to get a computer, you would create a request for proposals and you would send it out to a bunch of computer companies and you would buy a computer, but you typically would not buy it with the software to do the problem. You'd buy the computer and have it installed. So we did an RFP, we went through a selection, we narrowed it down that they were going to buy an IBM System 34 computer, which was a brand new technology and leading edge technology at the time. So he got the computer, we installed it in their computer room. They had some what we call unit record equipment, but doing processing on 80-column cards to generate some of their reports. In fact, I still have in my office some of the tabulating boards from those 80-column card machines. It's kind of like showing kids today a 45 RPM record. It's like,
and they'll say, what is that?
I never saw one, or an 8-track tape or something like that.
Oh, please.
So I have some of those in my office. But in any event, we installed a computer. So, we sort of admired it and we said, this is really great, but now what do we do? Well, what you do is, what companies did at the time is you train some of your people in programming and then you begin to make the software. So my colleague said, well, if we take that approach, we're going to be 2 years or more until we can do anything with this thing. It's, it's a boat anchor up until that point. So we said, okay, well, we'll find you some software. And coincidentally, the Lancaster School District had just stopped using some software that they had developed themselves. So we got a contract from Conrad Weiser to adapt that software for use on their IBM System 34, and that in 1979 became our first school client. And from there, what happened was there was a business manager at Governor Mifflin, a guy by the name of Homer Ziegler, who called me up and said, I heard what you did at an IU meeting for Conrad Weiser. Could you come to Governor Mifflin and do it here? So we went to Governor Mifflin, installed the software there. Then we went to Wilson and installed it there.
And kind of the rest is history.
And Boyertown, and it spread. And at one point, we had 200 of the public schools in Pennsylvania using our software. And then, later the business expanded to be more of a national business. So that's one thing that we do.
I didn't mean to take you off
No.
course,
Actually, that's probably among the more fascinating parts of the story is how things develop. And actually one of the things that happened in the history of the company is we basically were professional services providers in the beginning, because that's really what I knew from working at Ernst & Ernst. And in about 1982, I would say, I got my team together and I said, we want to grow the business, and we need to figure out basically how the growth is going to occur. And I said, we have two options. We can either hire more people or we can work more hours. And neither one of them seemed appealing at the time. So we said, well, what else could we do? So we said, software. Let's get into the software business. So we developed two families of software. One was this school software, and the other family was we developed a series of software for general business that did the standard stuff: payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger, those applications. And we sold them to commercial accounts alongside of this, what was called the IBM mid-range family of computers. So that's really how we evolved in the early going in software. And that persisted really until the late 80s, when we made another twist in our company. But kind of getting back to today, we have, as I said, 5 components to our business. We have the software products business. We have a software development business where we are software developers for hire. So companies large and small, even some software companies, contract with us to have software developed. So it could be somebody has an idea for an application, either a phone app or a business app, and we will build that for them as contractors for hire. We have a business where we buy technology and we turn it into a solution and we sell it to clients. And that's often called the value-added resale business. So we buy from distribution and we sell to our clients. I refer to that as our buggy whip business, because as the compute workload moves into the cloud, we think our clients are going to be buying less and less technology to install on premise at their location.
Oh, interesting.
So we are morphing our value-added resale business to be a cloud computing and managed services business. So we run 3 data centers. They're all have everything redundant. They're big industrial strength data centers. 2 of them are in Pennsylvania. 1 of them is in Chandler, Arizona. So we do manage our clients' compute workload both on premise at their location and in one of our data centers, which is often referred to as a hybrid environment. So then we have a division in our business that does consulting, and this is typically related to information security and information technology strategy. You know, what should we do? And then the 5th division in our business is we have a group that we call our creative division, but basically what they're about is they're about designing the user interface and the user experience. So at the glass, you know, what does the user experience when they interact with our software? So in that division, we'll do video like this that can be put on somebody's web presence or in an application. We'll do animations, original photography, that kind of thing. So all of these divisions in our business come together to provide essentially technology solutions to our clients. And the conventional wisdom in the IT industry is that you pick a niche, you get deep and strong and long in that niche, and that's the road to success. Our observation and experience is that that road to success is littered with companies that get very niche-y, and then when the niche changes, they're not able to move on to the next thing. So one of our core business strategies is we call our diversity strategy. And what that's about is we intentionally plan to have our different lines of business in different stages of their overall life cycle, so that we have certain mature businesses that are throwing off cash to fund our emerging or startup businesses, and then we have certain growth stage businesses that can take the place of our mature businesses when they go on critical life support and we need to exit them. So we try to embrace change, which is constant in the technology industry. We try to embrace change as an agent of our success. So what we always say is, when things are changing, it's creating opportunity for somebody. So we try to look at change in the technology industry and use that as a way of creating new products and services and new values for our clients. So we've been on that strategy probably for at least 10 years, and it's been effective that whole time period.
You know, and what you say, John, is just so true, because you really have to be ahead and innovative. And when people, I think, get into this idea that, yes, it's got to be niche and you've got to be, you know, deep and in that world, then you're not seeing what's around. And you just said it perfectly, which is probably a great sort of in a nutshell, for an MBA student to understand how you run a business and what makes one successful like Weidenhammer as opposed to someone else who has just sort of not looked at anything around them other than what that one niche business is. So, you know, I wish we could talk for another half hour or more, but I know that our time is waning. But I would, again, John, thank you so much for taking time.
And thank you for taking the time to let me give you a little bit of background.
It's fascinating because, as I say, we never know as we drive by a business, and now folks that are observing this video can drive by Weidenhammer and say, I know what's going on in there, and it's really pretty cool stuff.
And come in and see us when you go by.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, John.
You're welcome.
And,
thank you. Great chatting with you.
Yes, it was wonderful
chatting with you. Look forward to our
too.
next conversation.
Yes.